Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Suppose that there is a question in the exam that we have four masses m placed on the vertices of an placed on the vertex of a square of side length a. And my question is, what will be the net force on this mass? Suppose one mass m is sitting right here. So what will be the net force on this mass? Now in this question, you will have three forces. Like one force will be due to this mass, one will be due to this mass, one will be due to this mass. So you can't use that formula, the resultant formula that we have used in the last question. So in this question, what you to do is, this mass will attract m towards itself and the force will be gm square by a square. One force will be in this direction and this will be gm square by a square. Now join this. So this will be root 2a because this is the hypotenuse. So one force will be in this direction, it will be gm square upon 2a square because square of root 2a will be 2a square. So what you will do is you have three forces. So one is basically gm square by a square. One is your gm square upon a square. And this is your gm square by 2a square at an angle 45 degree. So you have to write all of this in vector form. So this can be written as I cap. This can be written as j cap, and you have to resolve this force. So this force will have one component x direction. So the component will be gm square upon 2a square cos 45. So f cos theta I cap, and one component will be in this direction. So it will be gm square upon 2a square sine 45, that is 1 by root 2 j cap. This will be your net force. Any doubt in this, then you can ask me now.
No doubt.
Clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, and remember, if you have any vector like this, 2i cap plus j cap plus k cap, and my question is what will be the magnitude of this? So it will be root of 2 square plus 1 square plus 1 square. So this is how you have to calculate the magnitude of any vector. So you can calculate magnitude of this vector also. Yeah, this will be a lengthy question then, but generally our question or our options are given in I cap and j cap only. So most probably the answer will stop here. But suppose they ask the magnitude, then you have to find the magnitude also. So this is the way we have to find the magnitude, and this is the way we find force between two masses, force between three masses, force between multiple masses. So if multiple masses are there, then you have to use vector algebra. There is no other way to solve this kind of questions. Okay, this is one topic which was very important. Another is orbital velocity. Suppose that we have a planet of mass m. Suppose the center, and suppose that we have a satellite of mass small m. Suppose the planet is radius r, and suppose the satellite is at a distance h from the surface of planet, and suppose this is your radius r. Okay, and suppose this is your r means distance from center of bigger planet. Suppose the mass is revolving with velocity v. Now remember, if any mass is in circular motion, then the net force will be towards center. And what will be the net force? The net force will be equal to mv square by r, where m is mass of the body which is revolving, v is the orbital velocity, r is the radius of orbit. So radius of orbit will be small r. Radius of orbit means distance of, it means the distance of the mass from center of the circle. So mv square by r. And what will be the net force on this mass? So this mass is being attracted towards center due to the bigger mass. And what will be the force of attraction? So g into m upon r square will be equal to mv square by r. So m and m will cancel out, r and r will cancel out. So velocity will be given by root of gm by r. Or we can write it to be gm upon r plus h. So this will be your velocity. If you have any doubt on this, you can ask me now. Or please write down the formula for orbital velocity. So this is your orbital velocity. Any doubt, Ram? Was it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. Now, from here, we can derive Kepler's first law. So velocity is basically, so this will be the speed also. So what will be the speed of the satellite? So speed is basically magnitude of velocity. So we can write V to be equal to 2 pi r by t. So total distance traveled upon time taken. So t is basically time for one revolution. So it will be basically root of gm by r. So you can shift this root to this side. So it will be 4 pi square upon r square upon t square will be equal to gm by r. So r will go on that side. That will be r cube 4 pi square, and it will be equal to gm into t square. So t square is directly proportional to r cube. This is your Kepler's law for time periods. So basically time period of any satellite, for time period of any satellite, the law is square of time period is directly proportional to cube of radius of orbit. So this is your Kepler's law for time periods. So t square directly proportional to r cube, or we can also write t directly proportional to r h to the power 3 by 2.
Understood, sir.
Understood? Okay. Similarly, you have to remember that between any two masses, suppose the distance between the center is r. Remember, uh, potential energy is also called as interaction energy. It means whenever there is any kind of force between masses, between charges, it means there is some energy stored between them, and that is called as potential energy. So between any two masses, the potential energy is minus g m1 m2 by r, where r is the distance between the center. So suppose I give you a question like this, that we have a mass m of radius r. Suppose we have another mass m of radius r. So what is the potential energy between these two masses? So u will be minus g into first mass into second mass. And what is the distance? So distance will be 2r. There is no square here. And also there is negative sign here. Potential energy is negative. It means the force is attractive. If potential energy is positive, it means the force is repulsive. But in gravitation, since we know that all the forces will be attractive, so in gravitation, potential energy will always be negative. But in 12th class, you will study electrostatics, where you will see that the potential energy can be positive also, because there is repulsion between the charges when they are positive, positive, or negative, negative. But in gravitation, always remember potential energy will be negative only. And the formula will be this minus G m1 m2 by r. Please write down this formula.
Is it 2R, R, sir?
1 second here.
Is it 2R or R, sir?
It will be 2r, no? Because r is
Oh, okay,
basically the
okay. Yeah.
distance between the center of two masses. So it will be
Yeah.
2r.
Yeah.
This will be r, this will be r. So it will be 2r.
Yeah, sir.
Done? Okay. So this is how you can calculate potential energy between two masses. But what if we have multiple masses? Suppose that we have a mass m, another mass m, another mass m. placed on the vertices of an equilateral triangle of side length A. Now what you will do is, so there will be three potential energy here. One between these two masses, one between these two masses, one between these two masses. So it will be 3 into minus g m square upon A. If you look correctly, between any two masses, the potential energy will be this only, minus g into m upon A. And basically there will be three pairs. So this will be the total potential energy stored in the system. Any doubt in this, then you can ask me now.
It's clear, sir.
Clear? So suppose that we have a square. Suppose on the side of a square, on the vertices, we have four masses. Suppose the side length is A. So if I ask you, how will you find the total potential energy in the system? So how will you find it now? So you have to identify pairs. So we have four pairs like this. And you will have this pair also. So there will be six pairs. So you have to calculate six potential energy. Any doubt in this, then you can ask me now. Doubt, or is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Because in this case, the four pairs will have same energy, 4 into minus gm square by A. But the two pairs will have different energy. Like this mass m, this will have minus gm square upon root 2a. And this two also have minus gm square upon root 2a. So this will be the total potential energy stored in the system. Any doubt, or is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay, so again coming to same total energy of satellite. So what will be the total energy of a satellite? Suppose that we have a planet of mass m, radius r, and suppose that we have a satellite of small mass m, and suppose this is your radius r, and suppose this is your height h, and this is small r. So we have already calculated that the velocity will be root gm by r. So if I ask you, what will be the kinetic energy of satellite? So kinetic energy will be half mv square. So it will be half m. So square means root will go. So it will be gmm upon 2r. What will be the potential energy of satellite? So minus g into m upon r, because minus g into m1 into m2. And what is the distributed to center? So center of the satellite will be at this point only. But center of mass will be at this point, the planet. So this will be R. So this will be a potential energy. So total energy will be the sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. So what will be the kinetic energy? It will be gmm upon 2r, and potential energy will be minus gmm upon r. So total energy will be minus gmm upon 2r. So this will be your total energy of the satellite. So if you'll see, total energy is basically potential energy divided by 2, and kinetic energy is basically negative of total energy. So these two equations you have to remember, because if you have any one of these three variable, you can find another two variable, because total energy is basically potential energy divided by 2. You can see clearly here, potential energy is minus gmm upon r, and total energy is minus gmm upon 2r. So total is potential by 2, and kinetic is negative of total, because kinetic is gmm upon 2r, and total is minus gmm upon 2r. Any doubt you can ask me now, Ram.
Clear, sir.
Clear? So suppose in a question it is given that total energy is minus 2000 joule. So what will be the kinetic energy? What will be the potential energy? So kinetic energy is basically negative of total energy. So kinetic energy will be 2000 joule. And what will be potential energy? So potential will be 2 into total. So it will be minus 4000 joule. So this is how you have to solve questions of energy, orbital velocity, potential energy, and force. Any doubt in this all, you can ask me now.
Clear, sir.
Clear? Okay. Remember that. Suppose that, remember this is your Kepler's first law, that sun is at one foci. If you remember coordinate algebra, then we have one shape called as ellipse. So in ellipse, we have two focus, F1 and F2. So according to Kepler, sun is at one foci and earth is basically following an elliptical orbit. So earth is basically following an elliptical orbit like this. And if you'll see, then according to sun, like if I'll ask you, what will be the torque on earth? Suppose mass of earth is me, suppose mass of sun is ms. So my question is, what will be the torque on earth according to sun? So if we'll see, sun will attract earth towards itself. And what I have told you, that if any force is passing through the point about which you are calculating torque, then the torque due to that force will be zero. So remember, about sun, torque on earth is zero. So it means angular momentum of earth will remain constant. And linear momentum is mass into velocity. Angular momentum is mass into velocity into radius. So it will be a constant. And also remember that mass of earth will be constant. So V into R is basically a constant K dash. So V is basically inversely proportional to R. So if someone asks you, like, where will be the velocity of earth maximum when it is revolving around sun? So if you'll see, when earth will be at this point, then earth will be closer to sun. And when earth will be at this point, then earth will be far away from sun. So if R is more, then velocity will be less. If R is less, then velocity will be more. So at this point, the velocity is maximum, and at this point, the velocity is minimum. Angular momentum of earth while revolving around sun remains constant with time because there is no torque acting on earth. So if net torque is zero, then angular momentum can never change. This is your conservation of angular momentum. Like, conservation of angular momentum says that if there is no torque acting on a system, then angular momentum can never change. Like, it is same like linear momentum. So if force is zero, then linear momentum can't change. And if torque is zero, then angular momentum can't change. So torque on earth is zero. So angular momentum on earth will be constant. Angular momentum is basically mvr, it is a constant. So v into r will be constant. So v is inversely proportional to r. Any doubt, Ram? Then you can ask me now.
It's clear, sir. I'm just right.
And okay, so for Kepler's, this is your, like, we have already covered Kepler's first law, like Kepler's law of time periods we have already covered. This is your Kepler's law for aerial velocity, which says that angular momentum of earth remains constant with time. So angular momentum is constant. The reason is net torque acting on earth is zero. So angular momentum will be constant with time. And the third law for Kepler says that sun is situated at one of the foci and earth is moving in an elliptical orbit around the sun. So these are basically your three laws of Kepler. So first law says that T is square directly proportional to r cube. Second law is about angular momentum. That angular momentum is basically constant with time. And third law says that sun is at one of the foci and earth is moving in elliptical orbit around the sun. So this is Kepler's three law. So you have to remember all Kepler's law. You have to remember how to calculate orbital velocity. You have to calculate how to calculate kinetic energy, potential energy, total energy. Then you have to remember force of gravitation. Till now, if you have any doubt, you can ask me now.
Sir, what equation have you written in number 2?
The same equation. L equal to constant. Angular momentum is a constant.
Clear, sir.
Okay. And the third thing is escape velocity. So what is escape velocity? So minimum velocity with which a mass is to be launched so that it escapes to infinity. So what do we mean by escape velocity? So the escape velocity is the minimum velocity with which you have to launch something that it can escape to infinity. It means it will never return back. So how to find escape velocity? Suppose that we have a planet of mass m, and suppose that we have a smaller mass m on the surface of planet, smaller mass m. So with what velocity I should launch it that it will never again come back to this planet, or we can say that it will escape to infinity. So we'll use conservation of energy principle. Suppose this is your initial position, suppose this is your final position. So after launching, there is no external force acting on this mass because we are ignoring all other astronomical bodies that exist in our solar system or any other solar system. We are just taking our planet and the mass which is being launched. So kinetic initial plus potential initial will be kinetic final plus potential final. So what will be the initial kinetic energy of mass? Because we are launching it with escape velocity v, so it will be half mv square. Plus what will be the potential energy? When you were launching this mass was at surface of the planet and this is center of planet. So what is the distance between the two center? It will be r. So potential energy will be minus g m upon r equal to final kinetic energy will be zero because my only aim is to send the mass to infinity. I don't care whether the mass at infinity will move or not move. So I'll just take kinetic final to be zero. And what will be the final potential? So minus g m upon infinity. Because when mass will reach to the infinity, the distance between the two centers will be infinity, and 1 upon infinity is basically zero. So how will you calculate escape velocity? So this is your escape velocity. So m and m will cancel out. So escape velocity will be given by root of 2gm by r. So for any mass of or any planet of mass m, radius r, the escape velocity is root 2gm by r. If you see correctly, then the escape velocity does not depend on the mass which you are launching. Escape velocity depends on two factors: the mass of the planet, the radius of the planet. Please write down this formula.
Written, sir.
Got it? Okay. This is how you have to calculate escape velocity. Now, today, what you have to do, Ram, is that workbook that I have sent to you. Please solve only the MCQ part. Please don't look at the FRQ part
Okay.
because FRQ,
Okay.
FRQ is like, you have to go very deep while solving FRQs. But
Yeah.
to solve the
It's not coming
MCQs,
in the exam
we
also.
just have to use the concept. So, except one topic that is binary star that I'll complete tomorrow. Uh, Except binary star, most of our gravitation is complete. So I want you to solve some 25-30 questions of gravitation today. Okay, so tomorrow we can
Okay.
take doubts also, and we can complete our topics also. I think your exam is day
Okay,
after
sir.
tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. No, on Wednesday night, sir.
On the okay, then we have 2 more days. So one day we'll solve 2 practice papers. So I'll send you the practice
Okay.
paper, then I'll take the doubts. Okay, so
Okay.
today you have to solve some
Sure,
25,
sir.
30
Yeah.
questions of gravitation. Tomorrow we will take doubts also, and we'll have class also. I'll complete the gravitation tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir. Bye.